Happy holidays. Trust the profits. This is the formula. I am back here doing stakes previews, and today we're going to be talking about Harlan's Holiday Stakes. Today is December 27th. We're going to be whipping through this one. Before we do, though, let's get into a little bragging territory. The last time I was up here, I was talking about a little stakes race known as the Via Borghese, not even a graded stakes race. And I don't do this too often, but in terms of bragging, let's talk about this. I didn't have the winner, Lachine. I had as the winner in this race. He came in second, and as a place, he paid out 960. But really, let's focus on the exacta and trifecta. I always give you guys a key box. I had the winner, Viburnum Keyed, Lachine Flying Fortress were my next two up, and that made up 1, 2, 3, the trifecta, which paid out 138. That would have been, if you did the whole bet I've got here, would have been a $9 bet for a 50-cent trifecta. I could have also paired the first two up for an exacta that paid out 55.90. So, yep, let's cue up Pitbull there as we always do at Trust the Profits behind the scenes. Pitbull is our international symbol of winning a race, and I think we got a winner there. Anyway, moving on, you guys don't want to hear about the past. You don't want to hear about something that you may or may not have bet on. Let's talk about the future here. The possible field that we've got here for, what is this one called again? Harlan's Holiday Stakes. It's going to be running Gulfstream. It is a G3 on December 31st, New Year's Eve, party. And it is an 8.5 furlong race on dirt. 8 horses are currently entered. So let's talk about those 8. So let's start with Simplification, probably the best known horse in the field, I would say. Simplification, 2 wins and 9 races in 2022. Tip of the hat to Matt DeSantis here. This is one of his favorites from the 2022 Derby crop. Most recently, though, 7th place at the BC Dirt Mile. He was 3rd place to Skippy Longstocking and We Are the People at the West Virginia Derby, a 9 furlong affair. He was 5+ lengths back in that one. And he also faded to 6th in the Preakness. Has not looked so impressive since the Derby. And then in the Derby, he did look pretty impressive, getting 4th place in that slog of a race at the Derby. And his last win out, Fountain of Youth, 8.5 furlongs in March. It's been a while for Simplification, but still a very strong horse. Let's move on to the next one. A little bit of an unknown, the Chilean horse, O'Connor, being trained by Safi Joseph Jr. One race in the United States in 2022, in 2022 in general. Lifetime, though, 19 races, 10 wins, 5 second places, 2 third place finishes. Impressive. You're talking about any horse here, and you also checked the box on G1 races. Has won a G1 race in Chile, second in 2 others. So obviously you have to sort of make the transition between Chile and the United States. What do those G1, G2 races mean in connection with the types of horses he's going to be racing in United States? There's a little bit of an issue there, but let's talk about that single United States race, right? The one area that we can compare to was a 52K. Allowance race, 8.5 furlongs at Gulfstream, and he won impressively by 6 ranks. I think this is a horse that you have to have on your radar. Obviously, the trainer, Safi, he does a great job at GP. I think O'Connor is an interesting horse to put in the mix here, and I'm also curious to see what he goes off at and what the morning line gets put on him because he is a bit of the wild card here. Pioneer of Medina, another horse you probably heard about if you followed the Derby trail, did come in 19th at the Derby. Not so impressive. Did not handle the pace or the distance well. Does have 2 wins in 7 races in 2022. He did follow the Derby with an 8th place finish at Smarty Jones, 8th at Keeneland for 9 furlong AOC race. Never really seemed to get started in that race, but his last race out seemed to regain his form at Churchill, getting 1st place by half a length in a very Spartan field of 5 horses. Not really an impressive win, but good to see Pioneer of Medina hitting the charts again there for Todd Pletcher. So what do we think about Pioneer of Medina? Let's see. Next up, Cook Creek, 4 races, 1 third place finish in 2022. Not a whole lot to write home about for Cook Creek. Add to that, hasn't raced since June 18th of this year. So by the time he races this one, nearly a 200-day layoff in between races. In that race, came in fifth place by 20 lengths at Monmouth in the Pegasus Stakes raced at Monmouth. In 2022, raced in two G3 races, nondescript finishes though. Fifth place finish in a 9 furlong Peter Pan, 13 lengths back. Eighth place in the 9 furlong Withers, finishing 15 plus lengths back. So, whole lot of red flags for Cook Creek. An insta toss here, insta toss on Cook Creek. South Bend. This is another big horse here, coming off of two third place finishes in November and October. Less than a length off the win, Churchill Downs in a 148K AOC race, losing to Mr. Wireless in that one. 7 lengths off of Heart Rhythm in the 150K allowance race at Keeneland they ran previously. Uh, Ran this race last year too. Let's throw that out there. Not nearly as deep as a field, I would say. It was a short field, 6 horses, not super impressive, other than Fearless and South Bend, I would say, and came 4 lengths off of the win and um, behind Fearless in that race. Hasn't won in over a year. Getting pretty close though, as you can see by the record. Half the races he does finish in the money. However, hasn't had a win since November of last year. And then had a 4 month layoff pretty shortly after that, starting to regain his form. Those races in the middle of the year in the summer, not so impressive. A lot of fifth places, seventh places for South Bend. But the last few races seems to be coming back into form. Also noted he did run in the 2020 Derby, 15th place finish. Eh, um, that's South Bend. Moving on. Strike Hard, one win in 2022. Last race was a fifth place finish in a 70K stakes race at GP, 7 lengths back of the winner. Previous to that, finished seventh at St. Louis Derby, losing to Rattle and Roll. Finished well behind in that race too. That's a race that if you're going to be entering this one, you're hoping to see a win at the St. Louis Derby, beating a horse like Rattle and Roll if you're going to um, enter into Harlan's Holiday. Last win was a 52K allowance race at Gulfstream in May of 2022. So it's been a while. Beat a 6 horse field in that race. Ran in 2 Derby prep races. Didn't make much of an impact in either one of those races, however. I got concerns over distance, concerns over field strength, and whether he can handle the field strength. So there's another insta toss for me, strike hard. Skippy Longstocking, 2 wins and 2 third place finishes in 2022 out of 8 races, has been off since running poorly at the Penn Derby, coming in ninth place, finishing 15 lengths behind. I think the only horse that he beat in that race was Classic Causeway. Previous to that, looked outstanding. I mean, going into the Penn Derby, I really liked Skippy Longstocking a lot based off of what he did at the G3 West Virginia Derby, beating We the People by 1.5 lengths and Simplification by 6.5 lengths. I thought that race made him look pretty strong. Also, third place in Belmont, less so fifth place at Preakness, but those 2 races going into Penn had a lot of hope for Skippy Longstocking, hoping he can regain it going into this race coming up Saturday. Moving on, I believe this is our last horse, Clapton. I really want to make an old slow horse joke here, but you can't. Clapton, 3 wins, 2 second places, two shows in or 2 third place finishes in 10 races in 2022 for Clapton. Impressive record, um, but has failed to really hit the board hard in any G3, G1, G2 race. So Smarty Jones, 9 lengths back, 6th place finish there in a field of 8, and then the Florida Derby. These are prep races that he ran earlier and looked really lackluster in both of them. Um, Most recently, he was half a length off the win at a 72K race in Gulfstream. Last win was the Gil Campbell Memorial 100K Stakes race at GP, running a mile, winning that one by a length. Really interesting horse here. Most of his wins do come in these 50K allowance races. So you got to wonder, stepping up to a G3, hasn't really shown it previously in those Derby preps. Is Clapton going to be stepping up in this race and making a name for himself now that he's, coming into his 4th year? Or is this an area where the closer doesn't have enough strength to hold up with this style of, or this strength of field, I should say? So let's look at the strategy. Who am I picking here? I'm going to pick O'Connor. All right. Yeah, we're avoiding the chalk eater here. I think unless someone's going to pull a surprise on me and O'Connor's going to come out of left field. I don't think he's really coming out of left field. He's probably on a lot of boards, but you got Skippy Longstocking, Simplification, South Bend, Pioneer of Medina is also in there. So I have a feeling a few of those horses could be taking some of the money away from O'Connor. You might get a good price on him. That's what I'm assuming when I put him as a win. But if I'm going to key in Simplification, O'Connor. All right, sorry. I'm going to key in Simplification and add in O'Connor, Skippy Longstocking, and South Bend. Pioneer Medina, kind of interesting here, considering he did come back with another win recently. I'm not totally sold on him yet, though. Those two eighth place finishes previous to that, still a little scary for me, and I just have more faith in Skippy Longstocking, South Bend, and Simplification. All right, guys, hit subscribe, please. Happy New Year. And also feel free to hit the join button to join our memberships. All this analysis that we have here, we've got a model that we put together our picks. We've got picks for Saturday races, and then during the week, you can join through YouTube to get those picks from Trust the Profits. Got a lot of people signed up for them already, so think of that as an option for you. Thank you very much for joining, and we will see you shortly.